Welcome to the House of Azor podcast. I'm your host, William, and join me today will be Sean and Derek.
Hello.
And we're live streaming again. And I was trying to, I had two windows open, and apparently the YouTube thing is a little bit behind what we're actually
Severely
doing.
delayed. Yeah.
And stuff.
I was kidding with him. I delayed what he's seeing as well. So
Yeah. So this is another episode of the House of Azor podcast. We're doing these monthly episodes where instead of doing a specific movie we're talking about, we're just talking about the general things we've been watching and recommending. With all the COVID-19 coronavirus stuff going on, everybody, at least I haven't really been doing much, and theaters aren't open, so I haven't been able to see new movies in theaters. And nobody has because there's been like what? How long is it? Like, how long has the theaters been closed? Like a month?
They closed before I was off of work, so it's been like a month and a half.
It's been a while since they've been completely shut down. That one, what was that one Vin Diesel movie? Bloodshot was something that maybe that's like the last movie some people have seen in theaters. Depending on the rate all this stuff goes, it could be the last thing they see in theaters for a while.
Well, it could be the last thing they ever see.
Well, I know that in Texas are gonna be opening some stuff up in Georgia, so
But,
how that goes.
but there's nothing to go watch. Like the only thing you're able to see is whatever, like Bloodshot and Cats. Like,
Yeah, because like a lot of the big releases got pushed back,
Yeah,
like
there's-
Plado and Mulan and stuff. But yeah, so in this episode we'll just be going.
It's gonna start movies and shit. Universal films.
Or so the turn like the Sweded movies where you do like the fake no budget version.
Now it's
So,
our time.
Oh, it's the time for that Star Wars movie they've always wanted to make.
But yeah, so we're gonna talk about some of the news going on around movie theaters and how some of that stuff may be changing, and then the stuff we've been watching and would recommend. Because like we mentioned, so the theater's been closed for a while. One studio that actually has been doing a little bit in terms of releasing stuff direct to video that was theatrical releases has been Universal Studios because they released. So while it was still in theaters, they released VOD where you could pay $20 to watch The Invisible Man or The Hunt, and then they also did that with Trolls World Tour, I think. That was what it's like the new Troll movie.
That was
And
$20 for rentals.
yeah, $20 to rent it. So Julie and I did rent The Invisible Man a while back. We talked about it before. So there is something kind of cool about not, being able to rent a release movie and watch it at home. The $20 price point, it's like a weird thing. I don't know if that's too much or too little. So if it's for an individual to watch it by themselves, it's pretty steep. If it's for a couple to watch it at home, it's not too bad. If it's for a family with multiple children, it's a steal.
Well, I mean, if you stay in on Friday or Saturday night and you rent one of those movies, it's $20. You've already saved. It's going to be here locally. It's going to be at least $24. Then you add in, you're probably going to get a drink when you're there, and you got to drive out there, and so it does actually save you quite a bit of money. As long as it's two people watching it.
Yeah, and like I said, if you have multiple kids, and that dramatically adds up very quickly. I was just looking because I was just wondering as we were talking about this. So I have the Cinemark the club or whatever it's called. So it's a membership Cinemark theaters where it's like $8.99 a month, and you get one movie pass. It's good for any showing, and you get additional movie pass for like $8 or $8.99, regardless of like how expensive it is based on the time. And you get like 20% off of concessions. But currently it's paused because no other theaters are open, so they haven't been charging. But I have 3 credits built up. So whenever this gets going, I'll probably have like 5 or 6 credits to go see movies. So you have all this stuff going on. And then two, you have like people kept saying, oh, well, everyone said that television would destroy the film industry. It's like, well, the difference between the 1950s and 60s and today is back then you had your broadcast stuff, news, sitcoms like Star Trek and um, Twilight Zone. And then they would run movies on TV like years after they were released, and it'd be like a special event. You'd have to like watch it at the specific time they played it. Um, but in today's world, we're looking at a situation where you have people that have 70, 80-inch TVs at home. Like it's very common for most people to have, 50-inch or larger television, 4K, good, sound system and all that stuff. So you can watch it at home in high fidelity, and you're watching actual movies, not just TV shows or TV edited version of movies with commercials and stuff. So it is a bit of a different scenario. Like the movie
You,
theater is still a special experience,
yeah,
but
you really miss that on the sound, but a lot of people really miss that as well. And like for me, having a 2-year-old, it's like one place where I can get away and actually focus on it for 2.5 hours and not be distracted or anything. Or if I'm watching at night, don't have to keep the volume down or or risk falling asleep. It's just it is a different thing. I love the theatrical experience, but I do think it's cool that there are more options because for some stuff, some people can't get out of the house. Even if they're like disabled or if it's hard for them to get to theaters, it is kind of nice like that it doesn't there's not a barrier there, but of course that's causing such a big rift that the theater industry as well now with what AMC and Regal. Is it AMC?
yeah, MC was the one who came out first. But there's also been people talking about they may go out of business after all this is said and done. And while people are like, "Yeah, take that for your $5 Coca-Cola and your $10 popcorn," it's like, but if the theaters go out of business, where will you go to see movies? Um, so I mean, there's a lot of moving parts, but like AMC initially was the one who made the statements about not showing Universal movies. So the new Fast and the Furious film, the new Jurassic World film, internationally the new James Bond movie, and other like Universal had Candyman that was going to come out some point this year too. So there's like these different movies that they're saying they're not going to show. See if they stick to that, because I could not imagine if they have a week, like if they have a couple weeks open where the only big release is a Universal movie, them just saying we're not going to take Fast and the Furious, going to go for like these repeats and just give all of our business to our competitors. I don't know that they can stick with that, but it is like a tricky thing. Like I think we're going to start seeing some triaging of, Disney moved Onward, which was like a Pixar movie, because it wasn't doing super hot in theaters and the coronavirus came out and cratered the box office. So they moved it to Disney Plus much sooner than they ever planned to. So with HBO Max coming out, and that's Warner Brothers, and Disney owning Disney Plus, Netflix, whatever, I could see more movies that aren't their big tentpole movies being pushed to the streaming services, and they push their big Marvel Star Wars movie, DC movies in theaters, and have a smaller number of super huge budget tentpoles, and then the smaller stuff is mostly just to get people to subscribe to their streaming service.
Yeah.
Then the only issue with that though is if they do that, which I'm not totally against it, but those movies have to be really good, because I think what's happened like the last couple of years, we've really been spoiled as far as like big release movies. And like obviously this year with the coronavirus and all the other stuff like that's not happening. But you had a couple of huge Marvel movies. You had like Endgame, then you had what was it, Infinity War, and you had Star Wars. You had a couple of other things that were just huge, massive movies. And like this year, even without like, there's not those types of movies. Even though Marvel still got some stuff, there's not. What was the biggest release this year going to be? You know, uh, Depending on what you like, maybe Bond or
Well, then there's Black Widow and Milan, and so the Disney recent live action quotation marks remakes. I think the benchmark now is for most of those to make a billion or more or close to it. But at this point, I don't see a lot of people feeling safe going to theaters. I mean, because I personally, I people are so gross normally before the coronavirus came about that I don't know. I trust the theater seats to be clean when you go there,
Well,
and
what's funny is with that is like they're going to have most people work and do those jobs. Usually, from what I see, and I could be wrong, are generally younger 20s or late teens. Like high school, college age people that generally work that do that kind of stuff as far as like cleaning the theater out and all that stuff. So you're asking those kids, not that they can't handle it, but they're going to be the ones cleaning it. It's just kind of a weird thing that
I mean,
people they get a lot of responsibility thrust upon them, and they're not making a lot of money.
well, and
So how
two,
serious are you going to take it?
to adequately and properly disinfect and clean an entire movie theater, that's not a 15-minute cleanup in between screenings. That's like a, you're thinking about how many seats are in there. That's like a team of 15 taking an hour and a half.
Yeah.
I mean, that's
Now
not.
that's where the assigned seating helps, because like if you have a movie that doesn't sell out, in theory, you have to clean all the seats, but you know what seats for sure were sat in, according to what
Well, I mean,
was sold.
I've been in theaters where I looked at, before I went in, I looked at what the assigned seatings were. I picked the optimal seat, and then somebody was either sitting in my seat or sitting next to it. So people do not pay attention to that.
Question: you tell them to get out?
So and no, so the time that like I went in before, it was like mostly when somebody was in the seats, it was a more full theater, and all you have to do is like, oh, show them the app. It's like I've got seat D3, and they're like, oh, okay, and they kind of get pissed off if they move. With when somebody was sitting next to the seat, it was an empty theater, and I got, what in my opinion, is the optimal seat in the entire place. Somebody's sitting in the seat next to it, and I looked in the app because it has to just bought the ticket before then. Looked it up. That seat was still unsold. So they were just sitting there. So I just went sit next to him. The guy gave me the dirtiest look and got really mad, and then eventually huffed, puffed, and got up and moved.
Well, like I just remember, like when I went and saw Once Upon a Time in Hollywood, I was off of work that day when I went and saw it. So there was literally, it was like on a Friday. It was random Friday during the summer, and I went there like early, and there was maybe 10 people there, and I sit in the same seat every time I ever go to movies. And there's somebody sitting in it, and I was like, yes, like you said, piss them off. It's like, but I paid for that seat. Like I'm not going to sit in another seat. I don't know.
Well, it's
But
like, look, it's just like, look, I specifically got that seat before you did. It's mine. I reserved it. There's plenty of other seats, but I
just
was
eat
the
a
one who
bunch
took.
of eat a bunch of pea soup and just projectile vomit on. Exorcist style.
So, Arturo asked, do you want the theatrical experience for like what films like Halloween Kills and Fast 9? Would you want to theaters see those, or would you rather like watch those at home?
So I think
For
Halloween
Halloween,
Kills.
I just rather watch it at home.
See, I think with like a big release horror movie like that, that works so much better when you have a theater that's into it. You can come away having a way better experience than if you watch it at home by yourself.
Yeah,
No,
Because
but
I'm too on horror movies with a crowd. Like I even try not to go early in the day when it's like something big. I want to go with the crowd.
there's two types of horror crowds, and there is the Scream 2 crowd type, and I don't want to see a movie with them.
like
Where
the
everybody's
crowd depicted in Scream 2
yes,
when we're watching
like,
Stab, that is the
it's
movie made
like
about Scream 1.
yeah, it's like ridiculous. It's like not that I haven't been to the last movie I remember watching that was kind of like that was Texas Chainsaw Massacre. So that was like what 16 years ago. So maybe it was a long time ago. But I generally don't like to see a movie with a crowd because you always end up somebody kind of obnoxious. It's like I don't do it.
Most of the time I'm okay with it. Sometimes I like it when somebody's being goofy. If it's not something that is like if it's not like this stark film that is full of dread and tension, but if it is like there's a lot of like laughs and stuff as far as it's not taking itself super seriously, then I like that with a crowd for sure.
See, I like to experience something like, as much as I give shit to the Marvel movies, like something like Endgame or Star Wars. I think that's fun with the crowd. But then there's certain things like, depending on the type of horror movie, because I had off awful experience with Lights Out, not Lights Out, Don't Breathe. And like after that, it's like I have no interest in watching a horror movie crowd anymore. You know, it's like if I go there, I always go Sunday about noon. That way
So I
nobody's
think
there.
So I think Derek, you're a little bit like have bad luck. Like typically when I've gone to like these screenings for a lot of big release horror movies, I've gotten pretty lucky when they've been relatively full crowds. They've been into it because was a Quiet Place. We had a really good crowd that was super into it. And I remember over the years too. Was it the 2013 Evil Dead remake or reboot? Not really a remake. I got to go to like the advanced screening of that a week before it came out, and that was one of the deals where there's like people lined up outside trying to get in because they have like one theater where they're doing the preview.
Yeah.
That was like packed full. There was not an empty seat in that entire theater, and people were super into that. So I came out of that enjoying that probably way more than I would have if I just watched that at home.
Two of the experiences I think about, and these were when there's really anybody there. Me and you saw the green room together.
Yeah,
And
ladies.
there were like two old women in there, and then they left right around the time Patrick Stewart was on screen. He was a bad guy. I remember that. And they're like, "Oh, this is." I guess that wasn't what they thought it was going to be.
This isn't the Green Mile.
And then I'm thinking, me and you were watching. It was either Lights Out or it was The Ring. And
Rings.
It was Rings, and there was that real large family that came in there, and then they end up leaving through. And it's like, what do you think this is? Not that that movie is particularly scary, but I remember they had young kids with them. And it's just funny you see like a family come in with 4 young kids. Like,
I've seen that happen.
It was the guy from Big Bang Theory, so you know.
Yeah.
I've seen that happen a few times. Though when I saw the 2016 Blair Witch reboot or whatever, or just the sequel, I was in that theater. There weren't a ton of people there because it was like late on a Saturday or something. And then this family that were like it was I was trying to remember what the scenario was. It's where the women were wearing like the actual burqas, like full face coverings, and they had like 8 kids. I'm like, is this the wrong movie? Like, I mean, it just did not seem like the target market for like that many young children and people who seem to be like if somebody came into like a horror movie wearing like Amish clothing, be like, are you in the this is this the theater you but like so it's like sometimes you have weird stuff like that, but then it's like, so did maybe people went in the wrong theater, or maybe in some cases people were just going to see multiple movies for one point of view.
But see, like a movie I think about too is like The Lighthouse. That's such a like visceral experience, and it is one of those movies I think would be absolutely ruined if you had an obnoxious person in the movie theater when you're watching.
If you have a crowd for that doesn't know what they're going into.
Yeah, and that's something where it's like that movie is it's on Prime right now, I believe, and actually
it's Midsummer.
Yeah, which both of those are great, but those are movies that with the wrong audience, like it would just be completely unenjoyable because
I loved Midsummer with an audience. Like I told you, there was a guy behind me going, "Holy fuck, holy fuck, holy!" at certain points, and like that just adds, and I'm laughing because the tension is so thick. And I like that experience, but you can also easily get a bad experience.
Well, too, Midsummer, I think, plays much better if you have an audience that is a general film-going audience than if you have a horror audience. Because the audience I saw it with, like, moments there was gore, were, like, taking a backbite and had a big visceral reaction. But then, like, I see on Facebook...
But I was too, though. Like, the way the gore is handled that in the context... You know
what
I mean?
But then it's just like I see on Facebook groups, people like, ugh, if you think that is extreme, you have not seen Serbian film and you have not watched Martyrs. You are a piece of crap. And it's like, come on, man. Can't people react to what they react to because they were into the movie or something?
Well, but the level of the realistic depiction of the gore, I think, is what's so yes, movies might be gorier, but they're also kind of outlandish. For this one felt, but there's certain movies that one movie I go back to is It Follows, because we all watch it together, And I remember
Yeah.
when we were leaving, we were kind of all talking about our general reactions, and it
Yeah,
was
there's
kind of fun. There was like people that liked it, and then there's the what the hell is crowd. That's the interesting part. But me personally, like if I go to the theater, I much prefer to just be like me and me and Courtney go, just me and her, or like if I just go by myself to see something, just a spattering of people. Because I always have general. I kind of like to get lost in the movie, and it's hard for
You
me
get
to do that
distracted.
if somebody is doing something, or like I remember I went and saw The Last Jedi. The first time I was by myself. I just happened to have I was off around then, and the woman next to me was like talking on her cell phone the entire time. It's like what it's a way to take you out of it, and you can't get that back. You can't redo your first experience. Now say your third time, yeah, fine, whatever. But that first time, if it's something you highly anticipate.
But back to the topic. So like when all of this goes through, we'll see how many theaters, financially struggle and go out of business or have to file bankruptcy and stuff like that. Because like our local theater, like the Baxter Avenue Theater, I'm like really hoping they don't go under because that's really like the midnight screenings and show weird stuff. Or not weird stuff, like under the radar stuff you're not getting at a Cinemark or AMC theater.
Well,
Yeah, I will say though, some of the bigger ones have been better about showing some stuff that we traditionally would only get at our local the Baxter at theaters.
And
But
that may be the drought they have. Some of these theaters have to go in the next
yeah,
year once they open back up, and they don't have all these tent poles lined up week after week.
yeah, things are going to change. Yeah, for sure, things are going to change. And people are also talking about are they going to bow down so that release schedule for VOD is going to come sooner? So it's going to mean more turnover and more variety of films in theaters. Who knows?
Well, that's where I kind of look at it. Like, if they did VOD earlier, once the movie, there's obviously a certain spot where the movie, just has it trails off on money it's making. It's pretty much made what it's going to make. It might make a million or two extra. Then you go ahead and do VOD, cycle that movie out, or very limited screens. You get something in there that's not typically shown everywhere, and that would be good for more
One thing,
especially horror and a lot of that those genres like that, action and stuff like that. You would get movies you usually wouldn't see that might get more of a presence, because there's a
well,
lot of stuff that I would love to watch, but to be like I'm not going to go to watch it at Baxter just because it's pain to go to for
and
me.
two, something that'd be interesting to see. So I think part of the big problem that the theaters had with AMC and like Regal is that Universal wasn't adhering to the policy they had on video on demand or rental windows. They're supposed to have a certain period of time after a movie theatrically screens before they have it available to rent or watch at home. And that's just because honestly, for a lot of people, if they said you can go see the movie in theaters now, or you can wait 1 month and watch it at home for $5, $10, $20, a lot of people who would have gone to the theater if that wait was 3 months might just wait that 1 month to watch it at home. So that's where some of the consternation comes around. So we're going to see this business model shift and adjust to a new equilibrium in the probably next 3 years and see where that lands. Like, I don't want theaters to go under, um, but maybe this will make the theaters have to open up and bring in a little bit of different things because a lot of those tent poles have all been pushed to 2021, 2022, and some of them are
Yeah,
getting delayed. So there's a lot of indie films that are done. The only problem is, will the general audience accept them and pay the same price for that as they would for
yeah.
the big
I
Disney
think
Well,
film?
it's so expensive to put your film out in theaters too. All these streaming companies are going to want more content. Like, Warner Brothers is going to be throwing their stuff on HBO Max. The new Seth Rogen comedy, I think, going straight there. Have you guys read about that? What it's about?
I think vaguely, but I forgot
It's one of those
already.
it's like almost like what is that Brendan Fraser movie where he comes
hoodwinked
where he goes into that bunker and like 50 and comes out in the 90s.
Oh yeah, I know what you're talking about. Yeah.
Encino Man or
No,
No,
no?
it's he's like a goofy guy that's just
yeah. Anyway,
yeah.
Seth Rogen is like, I think in New York. His character's in New York like 100 years ago in a pickle factory, and he falls in a giant pickle jar, gets pickled for 100 years. Then he comes out and he meets his like great grandson that is also played by Seth Rogen.
Yeah.
So it's
So anyway,
kinda
that's
like
going straight.
Futurama.
Yeah. I mean, it's yeah. So that's going straight to HBO Max. Judd Apatow's new film.
Oh, the King of Staten Island.
Yeah, that's coming to VOD this summer. So
Yeah.
and real quick before we move on to like what we've been watching the games, let's take like a very very short break, like hopefully within like 15 seconds. But anyway, I just want to call for that, William, before we jump topics.
Okay.
We don't have to do it right now. I'm just saying before let's get out of the news.
Yeah. So related to that news, so Trolls World Tour, it's making more profit VOD than it would have in theaters, because when you screen a movie in the theaters, the theater takes a cut, and then that cut varies internationally and domestic. Because I know in China they get less of a cut than they do domestically here in the United States. So even though the worldwide box office for a movie might be $400 million, the studio might only really take home about 80 million of that when it's all said and done, or have 80 million of profit off that, depending on the budget or what have you. So I think the big story was too that the Troll World Tour was making more profit VOD than the prior film did theatrically released. And then it did point though with all the stores being shut, I'm sure that killed their merch sales and all the spin-off products they were going to be selling. But
Well, I mean,
uh,
like Target and Walmart are still open everywhere, so
well, some of them have the non-essential stuff corded off where you can't
corded
get
off.
it.
And
But the point being, I think that's part of the other discussion is if they could be as profitable, but is that a one-time situation? Is it because parents with kids can't take them to the theater and they can't take them to Chuck E. Cheese? They can't take them to all these places they used to for entertainment. They can rent this movie and have them all just watch. So that
well,
gave them better performance than we would have had in a normally crowded full marketplace.
the thing is, it's like it's not like a light switch is going to go off in whatever date these places have picked, and everything's going back to normal.
No, like a miracle,
So
it's going to go away.
yeah, and it's so like the new normal. This might last a year,
Well,
So
what's gonna suck is if it get kind of under control and get to a kind of plateau out and it's starting to decrease in the summer. There's expectation that in the fall and winter we could have another bad bout of it, because that's when typically you have the flu season and contagion season. So we'll see if that happens, but that could even then push some of these 2021 releases that are in the beginning of that year back out farther. Disney's not.
I think though too, if that were to happen and everything like this gets shut down again, or they do different things, that's where I think you have to take a gamble and release one of those movies, because you can only push a movie back so much before you just lose interest, because you're going to have other. Again, a lot of times with movies, we've talked about this time and time again, a lot of people going to movies yearly is a finite thing. Like you have 5 times you go to the movies a year, and if you have all these movies getting pushed to next year, and you only see 5 movies a year, and you've given up a lot of stuff this year, you're not going to prioritize movies over everything. So I think that's where you see this being like, okay, so if you're going to just dump everything into 2021, I didn't do anything this year because of this. Why I'm going to spend all summer in the movie theater. So I think you take a chance with something like Black Widow, which could probably underperform, or something like even Bond, which has had success, but those are always a crapshoot whether they're good or not. So why take the risk of that and just go ahead and just put it on VOD and see how it does? If this is a possibility going into next year.
The Green Knight, that's which I think is like a King Arthur fantasy. The A24 one, directed by David Lowery. Have you guys watched the trailer for that?
No.
Yeah, isn't it the one that had Dev Patel from Slumdog Millionaire? Yeah.
Yeah. So that's the A24. All their stuff goes to Prime after the fact, but that was supposed to come out this May. I haven't heard anything on that, but I haven't looked directly into it. But I would be curious to see if for some reason that would, maybe they tell Amazon, hey, give us an extra deal on this and you can have it right away or something like that. Or they just do VOD first, and because that's one I want to see as well.
Yeah, 'cause you just think about all the backing up this is going to do with the movie industry, and now obviously they're not filming anything right now. So I guess it helps them on one end. It's not like they're filming all this stuff and just getting a backlog of stuff to release. But at some point in time, you're just going to dump so much stuff out at the same time that you're not going to shell out all your money every weekend going to the movies.
So Derek, I
It's not
think
going to
you're
happen.
you're underestimating how many indie films are being shot right now by husband, wife, boyfriend, girlfriend, boyfriend, boyfriend, girlfriend, girlfriend,
Yeah,
filmmaking
but those aren't
duos.
hitting theaters.
So
I mean,
they'll be hitting.
they are pushing some stuff back pretty far. Like Mission Impossible got bumped like 6 months. Like
Yeah.
there's some and coming out next summer. So there are big things moving, but
But the only problem with that though is like you're going to have 7 big things all get dumped at the same time. Where because like everything now.
I don't think they'll. I mean, just
Well,
now.
what I mean is you'll have like.
I think they're going to play it safe. I think they'll just push it out so they don't get swallowed by
Yeah,
the
like
next
Yeah,
film.
but the problem with that though is like you look at Marvel and they have this overall plan of movies. They usually release 3 a year. So at some point you're gonna have 1 year they might release 6 in 1 year
I mean,
because of
no, they
this.
might shift it. Just
Yeah.
anything, and then they just do 3. They pick back up.
I think
Yeah.
everybody's pretty much just picked their schedule up if they have like a planned out schedule and just picked it up and moved it back.
Mhm.
So
Yeah.
everybody's doing that. So I don't think there's a lot of movies because they're literally not being able to shoot them.
And so that's the only thing that helps them is they can't shoot them. But at some point, depending on how long this lasts and what else goes on, if they don't resume as normal this year, then you have what you have at least 5 or 6 big movies that are going to come out, and there's others that have been. As I can see it, there was a point where I see you're going to pick a movie to put on VOD. You're going to say,
Yeah.
"Hey, this is a bigger movie, but we're just going to put it on VOD just to get it out there because it's going to get lost."
Well, and too, like I said, like the whole theaters gonna be very upset if Disney or somebody, if Wonder Woman or one of those movies goes to VOD, they're very upset. I think the studios do recognize the prestige of getting their stuff in theaters is different than like a streaming series. But
And,
yes, I mean,
so another thing too is now the Oscars have finally bowed down and changed their classification, so films that can qualify that have hit streaming and not theatrical. I wouldn't be surprised if that's stuck now, because it was always a battle before, and it seemed like they were holding out. And as these streaming companies are getting more powerful, it may just stick. But it would be interesting to see if this, if there is another breakout wave of this in the fall, and suddenly some of these prestige films all of a sudden they go straight to VOD because they want to qualify for Oscars this year because the competition may be over. Because right
yeah.
now it's like people are talking like, oh, Sonic's probably going to win an Oscar for best VFX. Nothing else comes out.
Yeah,
I
that is
mean,
true.
That's like the
yeah,
second highest grossing film of the year. Like it's or close to the top or something like that. I think.
that's where it gets kind of funny because you get. I just see it causing a lot of issues as far as getting releases. And again, like if you're a family that's been just like everybody, you've been at home and they open everything back up, I don't know if the movies are going to be at the top of your list. You miss out so much else. So there's a lot of other things where I think just because that could take a hit because it's like, oh, I haven't got to do anything. I've been inside for 3 months.
You've been inside and watching movies.
Yeah, so you're gonna go spit. That's where I can see it too. Is the fallout on it from that is just like, why do I want to go pay money to sit inside when I just sit inside for 3 or 4 months?
Yeah. So, y'all ready to move into what we're gonna do? What we've been watching.
Yeah, let's take just a quick break. I'm just going to change one setting. Hopefully, this doesn't break the stream. If it does, we'll be gone just a short while more. We'll be right back. Okay, I'm up now. So, just sorry for the delay. We're just checking the stream here. There's a delay on the end, but we can go ahead and start into this. And if it doesn't work, we'll just reset. It looks like it's working.
Yep. Yeah. So things we've been watching. So too, like, I think we're all in the same boat of with everything that's going on in the world. I'm like, I'm not going to actively go search out depressing stuff. It's going to just, or stuff that has very nihilistic viewpoint or look for gore porn. Just because at this point, I'm like, I want stuff to like make me uplifted. And two, like recently locally, it's been kind of crappy weather where it's been raining and hasn't been super nice out. Um, so I've been trying to watch stuff recently that was more like upbeat, but things that are kind of horror-ish that I had watched. So I'm trying to remember. Did you also watch the Castlevania animated series on Netflix?
She's the one.
I
I
have not.
loved it, but I didn't watch it.
Oh, yeah. So season 2 and 3. So season 3 came out recently, and they renewed it for season 4 because it was I think when it came out, it was like in the top 10 of all Netflix shows, like for the week or two when it first came out. So it did very well. Season 3 I really liked. It's one of those things where you're watching it and you're like, whose voice is that? Like Bill Nighy does a voice.
Hmm.
And I'm like, that's Bill Nighy. I went and looked at the cast and crew, and it was like 10 episodes for the season or more. I can't remember how many. But yeah, like I'm really digging that.
Yeah,
And
I need to watch that because actually I was going to watch something animated again recently, like some sort of series. Like I almost put on Cowboy Bebop again, but the first season I liked the beginning okay. By the end of it, I loved it. I was like, oh, this is awesome. Derek, you should definitely check that out. And I like Castlevania as well. So
Which one? Just Castlevania or?
yeah, Castlevania.
Yeah.
And it's like an anime show. So season 4 got greenlit. Is that what you said?
yeah, they greenlit. So season 3 had just debuted, and they greenlit season 4. And yeah, and Derek, so it's kind of in the anime style, so it's kind of highly stylized, and it does have R-rated levels of violence and nudity and some like sexuality and stuff in it. Um, so it's definitely not for kids. It is. I think it's kind of a mishmash of the game's lore, like introduces characters from across the series. I've only played some of the Castlevanias. I'm not super up on it. I have like they released on iOS and Android, I think, the Symphony of the Night, which is the one that everybody loves from the PlayStation 1. It is incredibly difficult to play with touchscreen controls.
I can imagine. Yeah, it's on PS4 also. They put it on there. Yeah, I beat that. I think I beat that on my PSP for the first time back in the day. And then PS3 because you can go back and forth. But that game is awesome. The DS ones are really good. A little bit of ones I like those okay. Some people love those even more, but
I
yeah.
remember playing the 3D ones on the Nintendo 64.
Yeah, that one's not the best. I think I have a copy of that one that I bought, years later.
But yeah, so it's the Dracula lore from all those games. It's expanded out with a lot more stuff going on. There's Hell Beast and um there's a bunch of crazy stuff going on. So it's not super dark or anything. It's more fun and there's action and things like that. So it's what like we always crap on the Hugh Jackman Van Helsing movie.
No,
but like
no, it's because you loved it.
But if they had struck the live action tone more what Castlevania series is doing, then people would have probably enjoyed it way more. But instead, they had whatever the goofy stuff they were doing. See what else? Dev.
Real quick too, the showrunner and producer, like Eddie Shankar, I believe. Man, he's born at 85. He is already. We are losers. Anyway, he's doing this is all for Netflix. Hyper Light Drifter show, which is I think an indie game, basically Assassin's Creed show, and what I'm most excited about, Devil May Cry, doing one of and something called Heaven's Forest. But Devil May Cry, there's been an anime that before, and I liked that. I've been a long time since I watched it, but yeah, I'm excited to check out that because I am way into that series. So
Yeah,
anyway, he's like hit with so I'm kind of very happy with this series. Yeah, it seems like he's doing a great job on it.
Well, and it's a medium too, like where some of those adaptations to do a movie or a series of that, you're going to be spending, a crap ton of money. So this lets them do an adaptation that they kind of have free reign to do visually whatever they want. And, you get stellar voice cast and writing, and you can knock it out of the park. Because I even think I think I saw an announcement they're making a new Transformers movie that's a prequel to all of them, but it's going to be animated. And it's like, yes, there you go. That's how you do it.
And who's animating that? Or is it the? I think it's the director of Toy Story 4 that's doing it.
Yes, same director's
Well,
Toy Story 4, so
I think this is kind of a good thing to bring up something I watched because it's animated and it's a new release. It's the DC animated Revenge of Scorpion film, Mortal Kombat Revenge of Scorpion, which neither of you all have watched it, right?
I'm not.
Okay, because I just ended up buying it because you couldn't rent it at the time, so I was like, I got nothing going on, let's go ahead and buy it. And I'm not trying to compare it to different things, but it's kind of like a retelling of everything we already know. Everybody knows, for the most part, I would assume the lore of Mortal Kombat, especially Mortal Kombat 1, where like Scorpion main interest is because he's killed by Sub-Zero, right? So you kind of like the beginning of the movie sets up like that part. And I think it failed on a lot of aspects because either one, maybe the Mortal Kombat lore is not as interesting as I thought it was, or two, they just tackled it in a really boring way. Because, like you look at something like Dragon Ball Super with Broly, and you haven't watched that, correct, Sean?
No, have not.
But now you watched it, William, and
Yeah.
you're pretty up on a majority of all the stuff that went on in Dragon Ball Z, and because you have like the Bardock stuff and the King Vegeta stuff in the beginning of the movie that you kind of knew about, and they kind of tweaked it a little bit for that, right? Now, did you find the retelling that interesting, or did you kind of get glossy eyed over it?
I mean, it didn't take a ton of time, and I think it kind of just soft rebooted all that in a very concise manner.
Well,
And
was it something that interesting? Was it boring, or like how did you feel about that stuff? Stuff that you already knew about, but that they showed you again.
no, I was fine with that. I didn't think it was super boring or anything. They kind of set up because they kind of retcon stuff all the time and
Yeah.
overwrite. So I think when you have all those like movies, because it was like with the Star Wars, they had all the Star Wars books over the decade that at the time were canon, and they wiped all the canon now. And with Dragon Ball Z, they have all like the movies that aren't canon, and this just kind of wipes out all of those and says this is the canon.
Well,
So
the reason why I bring that up is because it's something me and you both know about, and we've seen that stuff enough where it's like, okay, I know the history of it, right? But then you see it again, and it was interesting, and again, it moved at a really fast pace, and it added maybe some depth to the characters that weren't there that you got in the original like anime. But then you go to this, which is characters that we've known about. When did Mortal Kombat come out? Probably around the time I was born, 1990, 1991, or something like that, right? For the
Mhm.
original arcade.
Yeah, about 91 maybe.
Yeah, so I'm just born in 90s. So I've been familiar with that franchise since I can remember. But it's kind of weird that they picked the Mortal Kombat X styling to model all the animated characters off of. So I don't know if this was something that was in production that long, or if that's just an art style they really liked. But either way, it's just something like it's called the Revenge of Scorpion, and I bet he probably has some of the least amount of screen time in the movie.
Hmm.
You know, so it's like it's the Revenge of Scorpion, and then they kind of made him uninteresting, and the animation is great. Like I can't say anything bad about that. I mean, it looks wonderful.
Is it 2D right?
Yes.
Yeah. It's not 3D rendered or anything,
Yeah,
right?
I know it's Warner Brothers, so I know probably had one of the teams. I don't know who did it, but I'm assuming one of the teams that worked on a lot of the other DC animated stuff probably worked on it. And all their anime stuff always looks really well. That's one thing they got cornered. I don't think that Marvel has down. But I just kind of was really disappointed with it because it was kind of boring.
It's a bummer.
And it was kind of like they got free reign to do like gratuitous gore in the movie. And when you watch it, it feels like something that like, do you remember the Spawn anime movies and stuff that were out?
the HBO series.
Yeah. You remember when you were a kid, you got to watch it, it felt like you're getting away with something that was kind of cool. like I feel like that's what they're trying to go for with this, and maybe I'm just an adult now, and I'm like, eh. You know,
Yeah,
I
it
just
has to be done the right way. I haven't watched Eon Flux in a long time, but that show gave me what you're talking about. And it's like, oh, this is like wild, and this
yeah.
is not what I expect out of animation.
Well, because like you know, a kid that likes Mortal Kombat could get it because you know they play the game or something, and then they're watching it, and it's like because usually the differences between the movie Mortal Kombat and the like games is movies are never as violent as the games. So this one has a lot of just what I would feel like ridiculous violence, which is not it's not a problem, but you know it's just kind of boring and it doesn't really do anything to push a narrative or build interest in the character.
Yeah,
You
yeah.
know, it's just like, oh, you know, we can just do as much gore as we want because it's animated. It's like, yeah, but it's kind of you know, it's pointless. You know, so I was pleased because it has, you know, I know it's got a limited amount of people that reviewed it, but on Rotten Tomatoes, it's pretty high. It's like in the 80s or 90s. Then you go and watch it, and it's like, I mean, it doesn't. I guess what I can say is it doesn't suck. So that
Yeah.
might be why it had an 80 or 90. You know,
Hopefully
but
that comes to HBO Max and it's Warner Brothers, you know, because
yeah.
they killed the DC Universe stuff, right?
Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah. Which here's my thing on the movie: if you're a Mortal Kombat fan and you like watching animated stuff, I wouldn't say to not watch it, but I would not recommend to buy it at $20.
Yeah.
You know, if you could stream it on, if you already had HBO Max, or if you could get to rent it for $10 or whatever, yeah, you know, throw the money down. But I could not recommend somebody to purchase it unless they're just a diehard Mortal Kombat.
And then apparently, so there is the Mortal Kombat movie. So what I'm seeing is it was directed by Simon McQuoid, and it was shot in 2019. It's supposed to release in 2021 by Warner Brothers. So I'm not sure if all that's still
I wonder what the budget was for that, you know?
because I haven't like heard a ton about it. Let's see. It says the budget is projected between 40 and 50 million.
Well, I
Or
think
this is an old thing. That's not the current
well,
one.
I guess I guess the thing is like, and maybe too, I think the problem because like Mortal Kombat, I remember when I was a kid, was cooler because it felt like it had like some mythos around it, and everything wasn't explained. So I don't know if it's just because like it opened the box and things been over explained to this point where it's not as I guess like I don't want to really say mythical, but it felt kind of mythical, right? It doesn't feel like that anymore. So I would kind of like for them to get back to that in the movie where it's more Mortal Kombat original one and just kind of goes for that weird kind of, you know, I don't know, just kung fu martial arts
Well,
movie
I think
with
at this point they've had when the first movie came out, there only been a handful of games. At this point, there's been 30 games made, including all the spin-offs and mobile versions and all that stuff. So they've really expanded all the stories out about as far as you can.
yeah.
And they've made other anime stuff. So there's all this stuff to it. Like I think it'd be nice just to kind of start fresh and not worry about the decades of lore and
Yeah, that's
just
what I'm
like
saying. Just start fresh, and for one thing, and I think Luke King sucks as a character, and you know, don't make him the nobody likes Luke King. I don't think anybody
Oh,
likes.
have you played
Nobody likes Luke King.
no, have you played the Liu Kang game with him and Kung Lao?
And it sounds terrible.
Oh, no, Shaolin Monks. Have you
Yeah, I
played that
played
one?
that back in the day.
That one
Yeah.
was excellent. That's like for me, that was like one of my favorite Mortal Kombat
I
games
think
that
I
was
think
not a fighter.
they're Liu Kang is a good kind of straight man, but I think the thing, at least to me as a kid, I always liked the ninjas and stuff. So it's kind of just balancing out, giving you a central character that's kind of your point of view because you really didn't. I don't think Sub Zero or Scorpion are a good point of view character to
No.
bring the audience in, but it's just kind of balancing out the craziness of the premise and like that'd be kind of an interesting act to see somebody make a legit good movie out of it. So we'll
Well,
see what they do.
I think they need to go more like Bruce Lee style in the Dragon, or
Yeah.
something more like that, where you give if you're going to do Liu Kang as a focal point, make him an interesting character, and don't force it. You know,
I
because it
mean,
seems like
you guys are
that's
kind of talking about exactly the first movie. I mean, it was Enter the Dragon. Liu Kang was the main character, but they also tied everybody else in, just like Another Dragon did. You know?
Well, I'd
Yeah.
say that the problem was with that movie, just we already did an episode on it, but it just as a kid, I'm being very disappointed with what they do with Sub-Zero and Scorpion and Reptile and all those like the interesting characters. And then it was just kind of cheesy when you watch it now. So like, hopefully they find some better balance of giving it some stakes and mystique and making it seem cool. Maybe they keep the
I
ninja
mean,
character.
yeah, but at the same time, like it always was that. I get what you're saying though, but it always was a play on, you know, those Shaolin martial arts films.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? It was
Like
always
smart
it was
is
always that. So, when we're in the film, it is going to be a little cheesy with
like
super serious.
But even
they kind
even
of
like, oh, go ahead.
said they kind of collapsed the backstories of some of the characters in and made like Sub Zero and Scorpion both like essentially
Yeah.
servants to Shang Lao or forgetting the names of the characters.
They were serving
Shang Tsung.
Shang Tsung in that one.
So it just that felt like a betrayal of everything that was in the games, and it was to expedite things and just make this streamlined script and not have to explain all their motivations and stuff. Which I get, but hopefully they don't just collapse all the interesting elements out of it just to streamline it. And because I think we gotten past the point, because it used to be they would make a video game or a comic book movie, and then almost every element that the fans liked from those games or comics. And
Yeah.
now there's stuff where it's way too slavish and devoted to representing exactly what happened on the page. There's like some middle ground where you take the basic tenets of a story and make something interesting. So maybe they can do what HBO's Watchmen show is they took characters and lore, but told an interesting story. They didn't have to retell all the lore. They just
Yeah,
made a new.
I don't want to be, like retold all the lore because again, like, I know there's new people coming into it, but I've been around it for almost 30 years. I don't want to at that point.
And
I don't
Mortal
wanna do more.
Kombat just did that.
And then
No.
Mortal Kombat 10 and Mortal Kombat 11 just redid all that, because it had a little bit of time travel element into it. So it's like for me, it's like I don't want to get beat over the head with. It's kind of like watching Batman. It's like every Batman movie, I'm being retold the same story, and it's like at one point in time, I should come in and don't go back through all that.
Wasn't it in the Lego movie or something where he's like dead parents?
Yeah.
Like it's enough.
Yeah, it's like again, like Spider-Man, because
Homecoming didn't do that, at least,
No, it didn't.
Yeah.
Which is nice, but I just don't want to go through that again. Where it's like, oh, I gotta re-see the same stuff.
But maybe you hit that point, realize, okay, this stuff isn't for me anymore. It's for a younger generation.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
It
Like
could
they
be
keep
true.
retelling the same stories. Maybe we just move on because that does get very.
No, what you're supposed to do is you're supposed to go on the internet and absolutely rage
Yeah.
whenever they take a property and they make something that isn't exactly what you as a dude over a certain age want. It's an abomination if they use this name and they sully it.
But see, that's where I take something like the reason why I use Dragon Ball Super as an example is because the stuff, the stuff they retconned was really originally written in the 80s. So you're talking things that were, and as far as what the anime in America was shown, but we're just talking about stuff in general that existed for over 30 years, right? And if you knew Dragon Ball, you knew that stuff, but they did it in a way that worked really well and wasn't boring. Didn't feel like I was rehashing the same stuff, and they went through it really quick. And it was to tell a new story we hadn't heard yet. So I look at something like that, and it's like, oh, okay, I can deal with that. I don't want to feel like I'm being force fed the same stuff. And Homecoming did the same thing, where you kind of get a little bit of the mythos, but they didn't delve into it to like they had in the other two franchises. But it just kind of nice sometimes.
I understand that definitely gets like so boring. It can, and that's again Resident Evil 2. I was like, okay, the story wise they've changed stuff, but I still know the emotions I'm gonna go through,
Yeah.
And Fantasy VII Remake, like I'm not super familiar with the original. I played like part of the first disc and then like some other parts, but that one is such a big jump from what that was. And minor spoilers for it, so check out if you're playing it, but it kind of almost addresses the fact that it's a remake, which it does something interesting with the fact that they're remaking the game, so that's another avenue to go, which, like, again, Mortal Kombat 11, that's what they kind of did with that time stuff.
Let's see. So somewhat related to Castlevania. So nobody else has really watched What We Do in the Shadows TV series, right?
I only watched a little bit of the first season, and I liked maybe just the first episode. I liked it a lot, and I just just don't have the time. I just didn't have the time really. Not something we watch for.
Yeah, 'cause I think everything about that stuff that's on streaming services. So the Castlevania is on Netflix. What We Do in the Shadows is on Hulu because now they have FX on Hulu. So it airs on the actual FX channel on Wednesdays, and then it's available on Hulu the next day. Um, so I've been watching season 2 because I love season 1. It's really fun, and I definitely think it's worth it if you enjoy the movie at all. Um, and it's not a retcon of the movie. This is existing in the same universe, just in New York or Staten Island or whatever, instead of in New Zealand. And then season 2, there's been 4 episodes so far, and I think they've been really funny as well. And they cover, Ghost and some other stuff. Uh, and there's like some people that show up in different roles. And at some point in season 2, I remember Mark Hamill was supposed to be in it. So it'll be interesting to see what that is. And season 1 had some unexpected cameos as well. So it's just a nice, fun show. It's like a half-hour episode. So when you take all the commercials into account, it's a little bit under 30 minutes. It is. Um, I don't watch it on cable, so I'm not sure what they do, but there is like some profanity, not a ton. So I'm guessing if you air a show after a certain time, you can have profanity on cable now.
Yeah, it's like a 10 show. Yeah.
I know on Breaking Bad or Better Call Saul, listen to their podcast, they get one F bomb per season. So maybe something like that. But yeah, so that's something, the original What We Do in the Shadows movie with Taika with TT and Jermaine Clement and stuff, you like that, this is definitely worth watching. If you've never watched the movie, you can watch this. I haven't watched it, but I recommend you check it out because it wasn't Amazon Prime the last time I checked. Um, but they're really funny, and they're just the vampire mythos, and they have different types of vampires from different eras, and then they have like a Nosferatu vampire, um, and then just general funny stuff that would exist. And then like on the show, there's an energy vampire, so somebody who just drones and goes on in a conversation and when you're having a conversation, you're like, "Oh, well, I got a spare tire or my tire blew, it got a hole in it and I had to put the spare on." They're like, "Oh, well, my mother has cancer. How you doing?" Like the people who do that stuff, who always have to one up you in the misery and pain. So there's like a energy vampire who does stuff like that. Um, or just goes on. It's like, "Oh, is your computer password secure enough? It needs to be hexadecimal." So it's just like very funny. And it like I said, like the main like horror-ish things I've watched have been Castlevania and What We Do in the Shadows, even though there's both vampire things. And it always makes me want to go back and watch that the Dracula movie from the 90s.
The Keanu
Um,
Reeves Dracula.
Loving it.
No, not the Mel Brooks one. It's Coppola, right? Who did the 91 with Bram Stoker's Dracula with
Keanu Reeves,
Winona Ryder, Anthony Hopkins, all that stuff. But yeah, it's funny because I think there was somebody that was in both Dracula Dead Loving It and that one, if I remember correctly. Or maybe I'm misremembering that.
No, I hope that it was Liam Neeson. He was in both. He was Dracula in both of them.
Yeah. But yeah, so both of those are, Castlevania and What We Do in the Shadows for stuff that's not super dark or anything that's too if you want to get horror-ish without going down the super dark rabbit hole. Also finished Devs, which is the FX series that finished up. And Derek, did you watch Ex Machina? I can't remember.
I think I did.
It's Oscar Isaac and
I'm aware who's in it.
Domhnall Gleeson.
I wanted to say I I have, but it's been a long time since because it was on Netflix forever whenever it came out. So I'm pretty
I think
sure I
it's
did.
on Prime now, but
Was
yeah. So it's directed by Garland, and then he also did Annihilation. So if you enjoyed either of those things, I think you probably enjoy Devs. It seems more like a companion piece to Ex Machina than Annihilation. But it's that kind of very like flat style where everybody's not super overly dramatic or anything. He kind of gets into like heavy sci-fi stuff. Um, it's one of those endings where you're kind of sitting there and you have something to think about. So it doesn't end in a super ambiguous, like, what the hell did I watch way. I think when you end it, you kind of have a pretty clear, concise idea of exactly what happened. It's just not super clear at the beginning. A lot of stuff is just kind of like, there's this weird visual thing. What does this mean? And then it takes a few episodes to kind of figure it out. So,
Is
um,
it one and done as far as the season?
yeah, it was a like, limited series. So as far as I'm aware, there will not be any sequels. And the way it ends, I'm not really sure where we would go with it. Um, yes, I mean, I definitely recommend that. I enjoyed that a lot. Trying to think. So some stuff like Better Call Saul, watch the new season. It's amazing. I enjoy that immensely. The acting's been great. The cinematography's been amazing. All that stuff I really enjoy watching. It's one of my favorite things to watch when it's on air. But I think between the season 4 and 5 is like a year and a half. And now because of the coronavirus, between season 5 and the final season 6, it'll probably be that longer. So who knows?
see, this is where they should just shoot everybody green screen and just have that. So like
Yeah,
have one
just
person shoot and then another person shoot and then just green screen all of them in the same thing.
so kind of like Arrested Development season 4 did with people.
Yeah.
But trying to think of stuff I watched. So Sean, you watched part of Onward, right? The Pixar movie. It's on Disney Plus.
Yeah, I fell asleep.
So that like reminded me a lot of the game that came out for like PS3 and Xbox 360 or whatever back years ago, Brutal Legend, where it was like the heavy metal kind of action game where Jack Black was the voice. And then they had like voices from like Ozzy Osbourne and other metal stars. It kind of reminds me of that because it's kind of got that look to it. And that's the one where it has Tom Holland is the voice, Spider-Man, and Chris Pratt. So it had them as the voices, and then it had other people. I think Julia Louis-Dreyfus is in there. She's the voice. There's a few other ones that are pretty well-known people that I looked up the credits. I would say it's not like Pixar's top whatever movies. It's not one of their best. It was enjoyable enough. I'm
Is
sure
it
people are.
better than Cars?
Yes. I enjoy it more Cars, but that's also like
Come
saying,
on, William Mater. How can you beat Mater?
Mater.
I'm Mater. I'm a redneck and I'm ruining all my friends' lives. And it's okay. And they have to accept me because you can be whatever you want. And and then it's like a hellscape where you think about the logistics of what that world means with all being cars. And you're like, this is worse than any horror film ever. if all these things are true. But yeah, so Onward, it's fine. It wasn't anything that was like a super emotional. I mean, it had some like emotional beats, but sometimes it's like, well, is this really emotional? Or just going through the motions and being taken advantage of your, kind of sappy moments? But it was fine. It was enjoyable enough. It looked nice. It was different aesthetic. Um, Not really horror at all. I guess it's more horror than some of the stuff that Pixar has done, but it just really reminded me of that game Brutal Legend. I'm not sure if anybody else like picked
You're
that
the
up.
only, you're the only person
No.
that ever played that game ever.
Completion. For some reason I thought I played it in the dorm with you guys. Maybe not, but maybe I just talked about it a lot. But yeah, I played that game. I know it didn't review super highly, but I liked it overall. It was fun.
Yeah, I think I'd borrow yours or something at some
Did you?
point.
Yeah.
Maybe.
Like part of the way through, it's like a kind of an open world action game, Derek. And it almost turns into yes, and you have like minions to control and stuff. Like it's
They're
pretty
headbangers.
ambitious. Yeah, you have like headbanger squads and stuff. It's pretty cool. I like that game.
Yeah, so that's Disney Plus. Like I said, just one stuff. I was like, I don't want to be super downbeat. Then I did play Resident Evil 3 because I don't remember if we talked about the last one or not. Because I think the demo may have been out.
Yeah, I
Yeah, just
think
the
the
demo.
demo. Yeah.
Yeah, but the actual game itself, that's horror. So I did play that. Um, and that, like without spending a ton of time on that, like I enjoyed it. Um, I liked that it was kind of like some people complain about how it was kind of linear and it wasn't a super long game. But I got it on a deal like because Target had the buy two get one free games deal, so I got some other stuff. So didn't really pay full price for it, and I enjoyed that because I was able to beat it in a few nights or a couple nights and be done.
Well, here's my thing with it. We all know I'm a huge Resident Evil fan, and 3, as far as the remakes go, it doesn't. In general, I think Resident Evil 4 is probably still my favorite, but I would much rather play 3 than almost any of the other ones. And the reason is because it is pretty linear and it's more you're going forward and you're never really going back. It to me it makes it replay more because the problem I have even with like as good as Resident Evil 7 is and as tense as it is, the enemies get repetitive and there's a lot of backtracking. And you get into like Resident Evil 2 is majority of it is backtracking and puzzle solving and it's fun the first time you play it again because it's still a good game. It's very boring very quick. I can replay it through the police station and kill all the zombies, and then I could really care less about doing the
Yeah.
medallions because at that point it's like I just kind of lose interest. So Resident Evil 3, where it's kind of like fires you have a cannon and it's the speed throughout the entire game, I think to me makes it more replayable. And the stuff because like spoiler alert, you play as Carlos in the game, and his segments are just as fun, if not funner, than the Jill stuff. So for me, like when I was playing Resident Evil 2 and you get forced to play as Ada and Sherry, like I hate those moments.
Well, it's
And
because they take you and put you in an underpowered character in moments where you have to play differently. As opposed to 3, you go from Jill to Carlos, and he's not underpowered. He has an assault rifle, and if anything, you have a little bit more power
yeah,
initially, and it doesn't really slow down things and make you use a electronic scanner to find cables or
Oh yeah, I
just
forgot
go
about
and
all
hide
that. Yeah.
from zombies and crawl under stuff. So it really keeps, like Derek, you were saying, it really keeps the action going. Um, and two, like at this point, with the amount of time I have available for stuff, like I don't really want a 60-hour single player experience, especially if it's just rehashing a lot of the same areas and grinding for the
Hmm.
sake of grinding. I like there to be forward momentum and things that make sense or things that feel fun and feel like you're accomplishing something. So that, Resident Evil 3 being kind of straightforward, is that, if you play it the way I do, where I mostly just like to play through one time and try to find everything I can, you're playing like 7 hours, 7.5 hours, something.
well, like
Then you can replay it as many times as you want, but
yeah, which actually what I like better about Resident Evil 3, and I think is better for general game players, is that in order to unlock a lot of the cheap, like the unlimited ammo and different guns and different things, you just replay the game. You don't have to beat it in hard mode or nightmare mode in 50 minutes to unlock something. You can just go beat normal mode however many times and achieve stuff, and you can unlock the unlimited, M16, and you get the pistols. You can get this one added different. You can get defense items or attack
yeah,
items,
because
recovery items.
it gives you points for your playthrough,
Yeah.
and then you can use those points to purchase items
So
to
like,
play through with.
and you can get a lot of those points just playing it on normal or even assisted mode. You don't have to go through and play in the nightmare mode or hardcore mode to unlock. So I think that is more general gamer friendly and also incentivizes you to play through the game again because you get rewarded for it regardless of what level of you're playing it. So I think that's a more inclusive version of doing this because you might have somebody that is a casual gamer. Because I usually play on hardcore. I play those games a lot, but somebody who doesn't can go in, still enjoy it, and get a reap the rewards of somebody, and both people have the same amount of time in it. It's because like I still can't beat Resident Evil 2 on hardcore mode without unlimited ammo in like 50 minutes. Like to get the rocket launcher and all that stuff. Like I can't do that. I don't have the interest to do it.
What's the well, how fast have you beat RE3, and what's kind of the current a current like fast speed for that game?
Well, what I like about it is like hardcore mode, I beat it in less than 2 hours, and you don't get penalized for using limited ammo weapons because, like, when you go into nightmare mode, the only way you can beat nightmare mode is to use those weapons you buy, because like the zombies will take like an entire clip of the M16 to kill them, and you'll go in some rooms and there'll be 30 zombies, and there's no way you can get through without those weapons. So that's what I like about that is like it changes up that stuff, and again, like it makes you have to use it. But I think like some people could be at like 50 minutes, but
I just did a quick search and it said the first result was 57 minutes.
But that would have to be on regular or hardcore, because there's no way you could do
It
that.
said Inferno mode speed run.
Inferno?
57.
Shit. Well, okay, maybe I'm wrong, but it's just like to me, like I don't even think that'd be fun though, because I still think it's fun to go through and like when you play, because I've played, I think it's Inferno, the Nightmare, whatever the version of the hardcore is. Like you'll go in certain areas and it'll be like, you play through in regular hardcore with like 5 enemies. When you go through there's 15. And I think that's fun, and again, you can unlock all this stuff. So I think it's more, generally inclusive as far as this stuff.
Mhm.
But and I made the mistake of going on there and reading different stuff, and there's a lot of fans that still want like the original Resident Evil, fixed cameras, and you go back and you try to play. I have Resident Evil 1, the HD remake on the PlayStation 4. Go back and try to play that, and as good as the game looks, like it keeps my interest for like 5 minutes. Like
they even changed the PS4 version, right, to have like 3D controls and not just tank.
Yeah. They did
that.
Yeah, when they did the HD remake, they did that. So,
Yeah.
but it still though, it's just like that game's all backtracking, and it's like to me that was made for the limitations of the systems at the time. And I don't know if I want to go back and play a game like that, or if I do play that game, I'll just go play that game, or Resident Evil 3, the original, which I had on GameCube until I sold it on eBay. And, like you go back and you play those games and they're fun for a minute, but it's like, for me anymore, I don't think you could get gas appeal selling a game like that.
It feels very much like the old point and click adventure 3D version of that. And that's not, it has its fans, but it's not gonna get a mass audience. Honestly, same thing with like the Final Fantasy VII remake. I think it's why like Final Fantasy 15, why they went for more active combat than as opposed to the turn-based, direct rip from Final Fantasy VII, as far as where you just take turn. It was ATB, it was active battles, but you know what I mean. It wasn't the traditional RPG that you think of. It's like, okay, now you actually have a sword and you hit with it, and then you could use special attacks, because they know if they need to sell this many copies for the budget of the game, they can't make it, play in a way that will alienate newcomers who don't understand or have a previous affinity for that type of game.
Well, it's funny because like I got on one of the comments and I posted something. And I was just like, I wasn't. I love Resident Evil games. It's like I wasn't trashing old games. I don't know why we want to take a step back and play these games this way when those still exist and you can get them on platforms now. It's not like those games are impossible to get a hold of. You can still play them. And then like every comment is like, essentially like cussing me out. And it's like, oh, whatever, but it's like, it's funny because I didn't realize, I guess I don't get involved in much gaming stuff, but it really is like, just in general, how toxic the fan bases of most, I guess, just any form of media can be. It's funny to me. Even if you are yourself a huge fan of media, if you don't just go with the general consensus, like everybody out, it just, nothing upsets me that much,
So, Derek, you clearly do not know the lesson that you should never talk about video games on the internet
Well,
because,
I learned that lesson. I
well,
tried it downhill a couple times. It's like, yeah,
so
screw
I
it. That
think
was
basically like a good analogy or good comparison is think about cars that have stick shift transmissions. So even the stick shift transmissions that come in like sporty cars today, they're a far cry from what they were 30 years ago because a lot of them, my car is a stick shift and it was like the sport version of the car, but it has hill start assist. So if you start off an incline, it holds you in place. It has a lot of features to help you not kill the car and make it easier to drive. You go back and drive a stick shift, that one Jeep that we had years ago, it was hard as hell because, the clutch was really heavy, but it was like really light and feathery. And so it was like the clutch wasn't super easy to use. And it was a like 4 cylinder that wasn't in great shape. So that one, like, it was a tricky thing to launch that because if you didn't have the RPMs high enough, it would kind of bog down and it wouldn't do much. It'd stall out. If you had it too high, it's not like it was going to blow up. So it was like a balancing act to drive it. So, point being, things progress forward. You may love the way that old Jeep or car drives from the 70s, 80s, 60s, but the average person today is going to get in it and be like, I hate this. So it's like once you've moved forward, it's probably not gonna move back. So they're probably not
yeah.
gonna play games with those tank controls and make you rehash the same map with the same images. Like you said, that was built around the limitations of the hardware at the time. Now they don't exist, but people wanna relive those experiences.
Well, until you think about it, and like Resident Evil One makes sense for what it is because it's like kind of like a haunted mansion game. Like one of the villains in that game is the mansion. So that aspect it makes sense. But then like in Resident Evil 2, it makes even less sense why you be in a largely metropolitan area and be in the police station and then have like booby traps and and there's like a fully functioning police station. So why would you have all these things? And that's why it's like with three, that's not in there, so it makes sense. It's like why would it make sense to be in this metropolitan area that has a cutting edge pharmaceutical company that works it, but then we also have medieval era traps inside of the police station. It makes no sense. So it's like that's why they did
Or the
it.
museum be booby trapped
Yeah.
from
But
thief.
it's just like it doesn't make any sense. It's like it makes sense in the context of back in the day because that's what they had to do. But
Well, I mean, here's the thing, Derek. The last time I went to the police station, I had to find a jewel and I found a music box, had to turn upside down. I pulled a jewel out. I put it in a fountain, and then I got a key that unlocked a painting. And I'm just joking. I mean, like,
That was really fun though back in the day. Like that was
yeah.
satisfying. Solving puzzles is fun. And people don't like to solve puzzles, but at the time, like that was
What?
insane to have like that sort of puzzle
But I think
to a horror game. It was great.
something that may have changed a lot though is the Portal series. So the two Portal games, those were puzzle solving games, but they were logic puzzles. You had to, physics and logic figure out how to get from point A to point B and how to do things.
Yeah.
So I think like a lot of things that progress where people want, or I like things that are logical. I don't want to have to go look online to figure out how to do something and read like the sequence of events and things to find and here to go. I want to be given a problem to figure out, and then I can figure it out and it makes sense. But that's me, so I may not be speaking for everybody,
well,
obviously.
I guess my thing is like if I'm in a zombie infested area and I have a grenade launcher and there's a locked door, logic says blow it up the grenade launcher.
Yeah.
Not go find the jewel to put it into the fountain that unlocks the key that you have to
And then move
get.
around the bookshelves in the library
Yeah, when
and
you think about it logistically, so like that door's just inaccessible all the time. Like you can't go into that door because it's always in that fountain with and it's like where it makes no sense. Uh,
but
but
here's the thing, people may like that, but maybe like the rose-colored glasses where somebody thinks about how much they enjoyed it 20 years ago. They don't think about what the reality of playing it today would be. And if they actually sit down and did it, they'd be like, "Oh man, I wish this was a little bit different."
Yeah, I just that's my thing with it. It's like I love the old Mortal Kombat games, but I much prefer playing the new ones because I can go sit there and play them for a lot longer than I can. The old one's fun for like nostalgia purposes, like 5 minutes, and then you're kind of like, oh, okay, I got my fill, and then you go and play modern games because they're modern and you can pause it and you can, you don't have to be a master of the game to perform but fatality or it's like, oh, this is actually fun to play. I'm not getting frustrated. Uh, but yeah, I just you go and you look at those games, and it's like I love Resident Evil 3, but it seems like the general hardcore fan base is not a fan of it, and it's like, oh, yeah.
So I'm trying to think. So I watched like an indie movie or two as well, but I wasn't a huge fan, so I'm not gonna talk about those because I think at the indie level of if you like
Well,
something, represent it or talk about it or push it out there. If you don't like it, just move along.
well,
But did anybody watch any other big movies or any?
two things I'm going to talk about is I watched one horror related movie or one horror movie and one horror movie. The first one I'll talk about is Apollo 18. I'm gonna go ahead and just do full spoilers on it because it's been out for a while. There's really no way I can talk about it without giving spoilers. Are you all aware of Apollo 18?
I'm aware of it.
All right, you know about it, William. Found
Remember,
footage.
is that the one that the director of the original Paranormal Activity did?
I don't know. It's a found footage movie. It's like a secret mission they go to. They go to the moon. It's like
Is it from
this,
2011?
yeah, and it's the second moon landing, but it's top secret.
Yeah, okay,
And
yeah, I remember that.
all right, and it's all found footage.
That old.
Yeah, this was I wasn't going to do, but
Here,
like
wait. I'm gonna put up a bumper real quick here, so
okay.
people can give me 1 second. Also, do you know who I think his name's Stinky Peterson is from Hey Arnold, Derek?
Yeah.
You know who that is? Let's get a good shot of your hair real quick. I just want to.
Oh. There you go.
You can't see it, but it is on the stream.
Okay,
Next to you. So I'm putting thing.
The Paranormal Activity director Oren Peli directed a movie called Area 51 that came out in 2015.
Okay.
But that's not what I was thinking of. Yeah, it was else who directed Apollo 18.
I add up a little spoilers banner in case some people are tuning in. So
all right. Because like the premise of that movie is there's like a top secret mission to go and put essentially some type of satellite thing on the moon so they can see what the Soviet Union's doing. So they get there, and the big plot twist is that there's already a cosmonaut that's been there. They see a Russian spaceship, and there's a bunch of weird stuff going on. And the route they went is like apparently the moon has like parasitic organisms that live inside the rocks, and they take over the individuals. And it was just kind of like I feel like that's kind of par for the course and a lot of different stuff that we've seen. And could have been a really interesting, like almost space piracy movie, or there could have been a more of a discovery if they went more into like the cosmonaut was there, and just like the way they went was so generic. Like it was interesting up until that point, and then they shifted where the cosmonaut's dead, and there's really no like suspense on that end.
Mm-hmm.
Then it's like this is every movie I've ever seen. So you had this really interesting thing where they do a secret space mission, find a cosmonaut there, or they find a spaceship, and so it's been really interesting to play the back and forth between like the Americans and the Russians while they're there and they're messing with each other, and or if he was somehow like been mutated into alien or done some type of strange body horror, but they never really went into that. It just kind of was generic, and
it could have been Annihilation in space or Stalker in space.
yeah, it could have been. It could have been really great, but just the way they went, and I think too, like that movie is hurt by it being found footage. There's some movies where they do found footage, and it's like, I think about a movie I talk about all the time is Frankenstein's Monster, and elements of that being found footage.
Frankenstein's Army.
Frankenstein's Army, sorry, were derivative and kind of made it hard to watch, but then it paid off for the creature part, whereas this could have maybe had less of a story and went more creature oriented or whatever, but you just get to it. It's like, I've seen this movie a lot, it didn't even go like full on invasion of body snatchers. It just kind of, I don't know. It just like they had a good idea, and I would be interested to know the budget for it. You know, I'm sure it was probably on the cheaper side, but you would think it just lacked originality. And it's like you had a cool concept with this, you know, because you never really see that where it's like, you know, set in the '60s, they go to space, whatever, and then it's just like kind of it's like, oh, we'll just he'll get taken over by an alien, it'll blow a ship up, and
So the
you know,
budget was only 5 million.
oh, it was okay.
Yeah, and it made 25.
Yeah, I mean, made money, I guess, then, but it's
Yeah.
like it could have been a lot better than it was, you know. So I guess because I remember it looked kind of cool just back in the day, you know, like 21, but then you go,
So-
it just took forever to watch.
It wasn't a breakout hit like Paranormal
No.
Activity films. It just was one that was probably profitable enough and probably didn't ding or hurt anybody involved with it, but didn't make as much money as they hoped to
Yeah.
off of it.
Supposedly made 5 million.
The other movie I was gonna talk about is I watched, and this is a movie from my childhood. We were kind of talking about Disney and stuff earlier. This is not Disney, but I watched My Neighbor Totoro, and you know,
Miyazaki.
yeah, and there's a lot of movies like you remember when you were a kid, and you go back and you watch and they'll hold up, but this one really held up. Now the one I watch is the redubbed version where they have crap. She was in World of Worlds and
Dakota Fanning. Yeah.
Dakota Fanning and her sister were
Or Elle
the
Fanning, yeah.
yeah, they were the voices of the sisters in the movie. So
I think when Disney took over distribution rights, they redid a lot of the voices for some of
yeah,
those.
which is probably good. You know, I don't remember. You know, I obviously don't remember the original voice, but I know a lot of times they probably didn't get the best voice actors and they dubbed them.
I saw a bunch of stuff. Like some people are really big fans of the original voice, but also that's what ones they grew up on. And before I watched that, because I watched it for the first time not that long ago, I was like, okay, could I get the DVD from 2000? It's expensive or whatever. But I just ended up, buying the modern version.
Yeah, I just bought the modern version, and I think the only thing they changed was the voice. I think all the music and stuff, all the important stuff is the same. But it's really interesting to go back and you watch something like you watch Lion King or you watch I don't know, Little Mermaid or Fox and the Hound or whatever Disney movie you want to watch, and you go back and watch it as an adult, and you're like, oh, okay, like these are heavily oriented toward children, and there's not much for adults to get out.
The kids' movies for kids.
Yeah, but you go and watch something like My Neighbor Totoro, and it's like, when you're a kid, you like it because Totoro was in it, but he maybe has like 20 minutes of screen time,
Yeah.
and the main part is like the relationship between the sisters and dealing with their mother in the hospital. So it's a lot deeper than I remember it being. So I think that's why something like that holds up later because, okay, this is an actual movie with a plot that isn't just, it's not a musical and they're not just, obviously they had stuff they sold, but it felt like it was more of a movie than it was just to sell stuff,
Mhm.
Whereas I think like Lion King, while it does have, I'm not just picking on it, I'm just saying that's a big movie I remember when I was a kid, but it is nice to go watch something from your kid. It's good other than just the nostalgic purposes,
Yeah.
and that's something that to me has held up over time because the animation still looks great, and that's something too. I think that I'm assuming that's a Japanese studio that made the movie.
Studio Ghibli.
Yeah, and you look at what they did with animation and how much better that's held up over time from an American movie or the time that they seem to have valued animation a lot longer than we have in America. America's, even you look at stuff from like the night, even like the Lion King, that stuff that was good animation. But you look at like our cartoons and a lot of other stuff, like our animation on that end was not
most
great.
of our animated cartoons were done by Japanese studios, but what studios I think there were some other countries too. I don't know if it's Singapore anyway, but it also depends on what studio they sent it to. Like even I don't know if all the Disney stuff, the Disney TV shows were all I don't know exactly where those were, but just like say the Ghostbusters animated show or Ninja Turtles, like you can tell too, kind of you can what studios did which ones. If they had too much work or the budget was down, like they would cut budgets on some shows, and then the animation got really bad.
Well,
Um,
like X-Men
Yeah,
was
X-Men, their last
done.
season, they changed
yeah,
studios and it was
Yeah,
terrible.
they went to like a South Korean animation studio or something for the last season, and it was like really, really. You could tell the level of difference on it. But it is nice just getting to go watch a movie you remember from a kid, and then it held up. You know, it's like, oh, okay, this is actually a good movie, and that like when I have a kid, that would be something you'd like to pass down to them to watch. You know,
yeah.
whereas like sometimes you watch stuff and you're like, oh, this is really good. It's like, no, it's not. I liked it when I was a kid, and now it's almost unwatchable.
We bought probably like 7 or 8 Studio Ghibli films, and we have all the Blu-rays of a bunch of those because our daughter, we watch it with her, and they're just like awesome because we love them. We might watch them on repeat. She loves them. It's like they held up so much better than many animated films from that era. But yeah, but there's still more that I haven't seen, But like even just talking about, 'em, I'm like, okay, I'm ready to go like turn one on right now. They're just so easy to watch. And another thing too is uh, many of those films they aren't in the Western style, especially now films, where it's always forward momentum. It's always like, okay, this happens and then this, and because this happens and this happens, there's always like a need to push things forward in American films, even animation, kids films and everything too. But so many of those films are able to kind of get by and rest on even the quiet moments that aren't pushing the plot forward, but it is giving you something else in the process, and that's why I love those films. They're so comforting as well. They have to them. They've also got um, just emotion to them as well. And it isn't
What?
just something to keep kids cooked every second
Yeah.
song, and you know what I mean. It's just like they're masterfully done.
And it's really kind of interesting too to go watch these movies and like the parent, because I don't haven't I'm sure I've seen the other ones, but this one specifically, like most of all the parental figures in the movie are good, and there's a lot of times like you go and watch, well, just like shit, Lion King, like the parental figures, you always have like somebody that's evil or you have this or that, and there isn't that in this, so it is kind of refreshing to get like go watch a movie from that era where it's like, oh, okay, there's really no uh, evil.
There doesn't be a bad guy,
Yeah, there is no bad guy in it, and
Yeah.
it's different. Like there's nobody's trying to catch Totoro or nobody's trying to do this or that. It's just kind of like a very small encapsulated story you don't really get, because I feel like if you have it like that nowadays, it would be like somebody's trying to catch him, or
Yes.
and it's not that. It's just their short, brief experience with it, and then it's just so different from what we get now. And
Mhm.
it's refreshing that in.
Some of their films do have, their villains and stuff. Like many of them, Princess Mononoke or like Ponyo. Even they may have antagonists to the characters, but sometimes they always have their own agenda, and you can kind of be like, okay, this person isn't the greatest, but also they're not all bad, or you know what I mean? It's like it's not. There's the characters are shaded in grays and not black and white, like something like you mentioned, like Lion King or whatever. Um,
It's like
and it's so refreshing. It just adds so much more depth to the characters and the story and the worlds and everything. But yeah, you gotta check out Princess Mononoke. Like again, Kiki's Delivery Service is our favorite. It's not a lot of people's favorites, but I just something about that one I love so
the
much.
the
Um,
only issue is that you can't find those to rent anywhere, so you pretty much have to buy them.
is it okay?
And I don't know if that's because is it HBO Max that has the deal with them that they're all going to be on there or
Well,
what?
it may also be they just now went digital, like here recently. Like Studio Ghibli
Yeah.
always had a thing where they did not want to ever go digital, and then suddenly they surprised people that they're going to HBO Max, which was like a big deal. And then they end up hitting VOD to purchase. I don't know if they're going to be to rent or what. I didn't notice that they weren't for rent because we've looked at some, but like we looked at the bundle to get them all digitally to start watching them without having to pay like $100 to have most of those films. So we're just going to wait.
And so thinking like maybe if it was to rent, it was almost because I looked on Amazon, which is the easiest place to look, and I think to buy the digital copy was like $20, but to buy the physical Blu-ray copy was like 14. So it's like
Yeah,
buy the Blu-ray.
Let's see. So, HBO Max, so Warner Media secured the U.S. streaming rights to Studio Ghibli movies. So the entirety of the iconic Japanese animation studios collection will be on HBO Max upon launch in spring 2020.
yeah. But so I don't know about rental though. I don't know
Yeah,
if they'll be able to be to rent or if they're just holding that off until a long time, so HBO Max can either get subscribers.
I kind of think that's some of it because I didn't see it to rent anywhere, and to buy it digitally was more expensive than to buy the Blu-ray. And it's like, I'll just buy the Blu-ray.
Well, and two, when they're getting studios and getting a lot of content like that, they're really leveraging it to subscriptions. They're not going to be able to get that stuff without signing up.
Yeah,
but those are awesome.
Yeah, that's my recommendation. Go watch was it Studio Ghibli?
Yeah.
So you say that watch My Neighbor Totoro. Is like kind of like William said, things have been so down and kind of down. I didn't really want to be in the mindset to go watch like a super downer movie. It's like I'll go watch something like that, and then it actually was really good. So that's my recommendation this week is go watch My Neighbor Totoro.
So Sean, did you watch anything else?
Yeah, I don't think I dug into anything. Last time we talked, I think I was part of the way through Doom Eternal. I finished that, loved it. The highs are higher than Doom 2016. You could sit here and say, well, what's a better game? I don't know, but I had a phenomenal time with Doom Eternal. It was hard to see where they were going next with 2016. And some people complain about the story on this one, and they didn't need all the backstory on the Doom Slayer. But I mean, that stuff's kind of easy to ignore. For me, it's mostly about the gameplay, and I just really enjoyed that. So that finally finished up Breath of the Wild, like one more area to complete on that, and then Hyrule Castle because I've had time to play stuff actually. I feel like there was something else I beat too. I finished off, but then I beat Final Fantasy VII Remake, first Final Fantasy game I've ever beaten. Absolutely loved it. A lot of people are 35, 40 hours. I spent like 55 hours. I did pretty much everything you could do on the first run. I missed like one or two things that I just didn't know about because I wasn't looking at guides. But normally I don't go back to games right away, but I've like kept playing that and just kind of clearing up some stuff. I don't know if I'm gonna do hard mode, but that game it's long, but it always where you to go, so you're not spending like all that time wandering around a map or something, or just it's always pushing you forward. And I love the characters in it, the cutscenes I love. It's big and wild like an anime, it's not afraid to have like goofy characters and stuff like that, but also the story is great. I love the universe and the world. It's just I think it's a very, very cool world. And by the end of it too, I felt like I'd watched like a television series because the story was so expansive. Even though this is only part one of this remake, it's a disc of Final Fantasy VII, but like say what in that game, I started playing the original again too, and I'm probably 4 or 5 hours into that, but this game took me like say 30 hours or 25 hours to get to that point. But you spend that time building characters as well, and like really flesh out the characters. That's what is important in the story, not like the plot, the moment to moment of what's happening. And so again, it's the amount of cutscenes and story. It feels like what you would find like a Kojima game, like Metal Gear Solid 4 or 3 or something. But it's almost like and Phantom Pain, that game was like a 50-hour game, but you got very little story. This isn't open world like that, but it feels like it has that much story in like a shorter Metal Gear game, but in the 50-hour experience. So it's just like so much to dig into. And again, I love the story, playing Eco Terrorist and the struggle there, like what they're doing, is it like more beneficial, like when people are dying and stuff like that. It's I don't know, it's very cool. I highly recommend it. It's easy to play. You could put it on easy mode if you have trouble with it, but it's not, it's not turn based or anything like that.
Do you all ever watch much of Portlandia?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Do you remember the eco terrorist in Portlandia?
I don't think I do.
Because it's Olivia Wilder or Olivia Wilde, whatever her name
Yeah.
is. And it's like her, and there's like Jeff Goldblum's in one of them. And anyway, when you say eco terrorist, I just think of them.
So like I do not know, 'cause, like I wasn't like a super huge Final Fantasy fan, so I haven't looked into this much. So it's part one. So do you buy the game once and you get more of it later, or do you have to buy the game like this one game and you're buying another one later?
Yeah, you're buying another one later. But again,
Okay.
I think the original game, the average time to beat is like 40 hours. It's like the same, you know what I mean? Like you're not getting shortchanged at all. And based on the amount of resources they put into making this, and like how good the the cinematics are and everything, like yeah, you could see why they needed to pick that up, because they would never get money back probably if they were to give you a 150-hour game. You know what I
Yeah.
mean? That like had that attention to detail, and that was their argument all along, was like, to give it the attention to detail we think it needs. We can't do it all at once, because one, it would take like 15 years to do, and I guess cost would just be insane. So I'm like super excited. Like the story, it does not, like the story just like ends. Like again, they've changed some things. They've had liberties. They've taken liberties with it, and so by the end of it, you have a complete story, but then you feel like you're like excited to see where it goes from there. It's not like it just, oh, we're just cutting it off here. So it's, again, it's one of my favorite. It's like one of my favorite games actually. It is a 50 or 60-hour game, so the high you have maybe for the first like 10 hours or 15 hours, it's hard to keep that, because you might run into some parts that that buzz kind of starts to die down for a while, just because you are playing for so long. But it does continue to introduce like new characters, new environments and stuff like that, so it does keep that excitement up. And again, by the end of it, after I finished it, I would start it right back, and like jump. You can do chapter select again, so you don't have to go through it from the beginning. It's very convenient to replay parts of it. So I missed like some things, a couple chapters. I was easy to like select that chapter. I had all my equipment and levels, played those chapters, got what I needed, and leveled up in the process. So it's very forgiving. It's very friendly in that regards too. So I watched an episode of Cursed Films. Better.
Oh yeah. So people talk about that series.
Yeah, so that basically each episode they cover a film that was supposedly cursed. I think they did The Exorcist, The Omen, Poltergeist, The Crow, and Twilight Zone the movie. And, Twilight Zone the movie, apparently they show footage from that plane crash and explosion that's really,
Yeah.
and they don't give any warnings that they're going to show that. So just be advised. So saw many people kind of complaining about that.
Well, and two, just to give you context for what it is a plane crash where the blade kills Vic Morrow and two children, and I think it decapitated him. If I
Yeah,
remember correctly. So very graphic stuff. I had seen people share that on YouTube in years past and never watched like a full quality, full screen version. I was like, I don't need to see that. So you think they would be more give you a warning if you're going to show something like that.
yeah. So anyway, I just did the Exorcist one, and it was pretty good. I'm not looking for the death porn. You know what I mean? Like I avoided Twilight Zone right now, especially same on the same page as you guys as far as what I want to watch. Um, the Exorcist one was fine. You got some Brenda Blair there, uh, and she kind of talked about some of the torture she went through, basically making it. Um, and then some stuff she didn't want to talk about. But then honestly, I started kind of drifting off towards the end of the episode, because they got to, and I'll be honest, I started getting my phone because I got started losing interest. They started, I think, talking to somebody about a real exorcism, and started talking to this like younger girl. Basically, once they got out of the film and started talking about exorcisms, I checked out.
Question. Would you been more interested if it was like Robert Stack discussing it?
Yes, I would have. I would.
Yeah, it's
I've been hoping, like, oh, this person get an exorcism.
but yeah, it's like something with that is like I'd be interested in the movie stuff, but then when they get into that, it's like, man, I'd feel like I'd probably check it out too.
What I felt like was that they were just trying to look for an angle to do something of their own, and it felt a bit forced. Like, you don't have much to talk about. I don't know. You can find that much to talk about with The Exorcist. You don't have to talk about exorcisms for, the last part of it. Like, there's enough about this film to talk about. But for me, it was way less interesting than the rest of the stuff, and a lot of it was stuff you already knew. But that's the only one I watched. Again, I didn't really want to dig into all these, poltergeists, the young child actors dying, years later and all that stuff. Like, and I watched Joe Bob's Last Drive-In. I watched the first movie, which was Chopping Mall, and Kelly Maroney was a special guest. And again, that his stuff's always very insightful. She also talked about how Jim Wynorski, he basically, I think he told, I told Joe Bob this. Basically, he said he is, I think, slept or dated every actress that's been in his films. and apparently he wanted to date Kelly Maroney. That's why he cast her in the film. But she did not go for it. She does. And then went direct like a bunch of softcore porn, maybe full on porn. I don't know. But he goes under a different name. I think Joe Bob was talking about he was great at having names. I think The Hills Have Thighs was one he did. I don't remember all of them, but there was you go on IMDb and it's a long list. But now, Shopping Mall several times. I like that movie. And the second one with Chris Jericho as the guest, he brought his favorite film, which was Bloodsucking Freaks. And again, I kind of checked out pretty early. I started playing a game and actually just had the stream up to watch the interview parts because and I saw many people on Twitter say they just checked out. Like they were like, "Oh, this movie's awful."
Something like Mystery Song Theater type stuff.
Yeah, and two, it really goes for shock value as well too. I can't remember the stuff that was all in it, but there's like, Joe Bob does his rundown. It's like 46 breasts, like neck went in there, people getting tortured. It's just a lot of stuff to try to push the envelope, Chris Jericho, he liked it. He likes that film a lot, but he likes how bad it is, basically. So I may go back and rewatch some of that. Other stuff I watched was talk about Portrait of a Lady on Fire last time.
No, that's on Hulu, right?
Yeah, that's on Hulu. Really want to check that out. It popped up on there. Super, like that's probably the best film I've watched this year, I guess. Maybe, I don't know. On an isolated island in Brittany at the end of the 18th century, female painter is obliged to paint a wedding portrait of a young woman. And wedding portrait essentially is, you didn't have Tinder, you didn't have Facebook.
Yeah.
So to court somebody, you would have basically they're having this female painter come paint somebody, and they send it along to the suitor and decide if he wants to meet her and marry her. Basically, it's not a dick pic, but it's just sending a picture. Are you interested? Basically, very fascinating though. You know what I mean? Like it's but
check yes or no.
Yeah, I love the look of that film, the mood of it. It's on Hulu. I'm not going to talk much about it. It's not a horror film, obviously, but I was in on it. I love the setting. It's a good film to watch right now. I think. Let me just check a couple other things. What did I watch? The Birdcage.
Robin Williams and Nathan Lane.
Very good. Flintstones, Viva Vegas. I brought myself to only watch that because my daughter's a big Flintstones fan, as am I.
Real quick, that movie gave me more. It was either that or the original Flintstones. I had like the most terrifying nightmares of that movie when I was a kid, so I would not watch it. Like there's
Viva Rock Vegas came out in 2000.
Okay, no, there's the original.
Yeah, I love the
Yeah.
original.
I can't watch it.
I have the soundtrack. It's been in my car. Again, we've still listening to the soundtrack. We're listening to it today. And so I never watched Viva Rock Vegas because I'm a genuine fan of that original one. Because I was like, oh, and yeah, it's not good. But actually, I think Jenna Maroney is Betty, and Kristen Johnston from like Third Rock from the Sun and stuff. She is Wilma. I think they do a really good job. Actually, I like them. But Stephen Baldwin's Barney.
Well, and, the guy Mark Addy, who's Fred Flintstone, that's Robert Baratheon from Game of Thrones.
Yeah, I didn't notice that until after the fact. I looked it up. It's hard to compete with the original cast. Again, Wilma and Betty did great as well. But Rick Moranis and John Goodman, like, how do you compare those things? Watch Down. I liked it. Pretty good. It was on HBO, but I think I bought it a while back to get all the special features. Since it was directed by David F. Sandberg, and he is always very open and kind of helpful to his filmmaking process. Okay.
I was thinking of Kazam.
No, did not watch Kazam. Doctor Sleep, watched the director's cut of that.
I need to rewatch that.
Honestly, I had a hard time picking out what was different, but I've only watched the original once in theaters, like opening weekend or whatever.
There was a Starbucks cup somewhere in the film that wasn't supposed to be there.
And then I watched Little Shop of Horrors for the first time. I'd only seen parts of that on TV and plays in school.
Rick Moranis kick.
Yeah, I enjoyed it. I'll be interested to see that remake. I wonder how it'll do, being a musical. Some people are really high on musicals, La La Land and stuff like that. But the horror musical, I wonder. I'm curious to see what this does at the box office.
Well, because let's see, the last movie that would kind of even fall into that category was Sweeney Todd, the Johnny Depp, Tim Burton one from 2007, and that one, how much did that make?
$3.
Made about $350. It made worldwide gross of $153 million off of an estimated budget of $50 million.
Yeah,
so probably not a moneymaker.
2007, that's a lifetime ago. You know what I mean? Like,
yeah,
changed. And again, like talked about a couple times a year to see the Marvel films and Fast and the Furious or something, and then they watch the rest on streaming. So, interesting.
Who's the star in that one?
I believe it is. It would be Hansel or from the new. I heard Ford.
Now see if it's Harrison Ford.
But have you seen? Have you seen? Let me look that up. Can you look that up real quick for me, William, to see who the cast is?
Little Shop of Horrors. Yeah. See, so is that 2021?
See, back in the day, they used to show that on Comedy Central all the time. So I remember, like, it'd be like Saturday Night Live reruns, and then they'd do that. So I'd watch the original a lot because it just came on there so much.
So
I was wrong. Yeah.
I'll see on IMDb it just has the rumored cast. It has like Chris Evans, Scarlett Johansson, Taron Egerton.
Oh, it's the guy who played Elton John in the new Elton John movie.
Yeah, Taron Egerton. He's also in Kingsman.
It's gonna be hard to replay. See, they're going like super attractive, and it's like, no, you need to get like a Rick Moranis type. That's, I don't know.
But they're getting a singer. You know what I mean? Again, this is all rumored.
Just get Rick Moranis to come back because he's not retired anymore.
Well, I'm retired for the Honey I Shrunk the Kids, but
and then they spent $150 de-aging him like the Irishman.
Get him to come back, do that movie.
But I guess too, some of the stuff like Little Shop of Horrors, some of those musicals have a bit of cachet with like theater people who would be interested in seeing it, but I'm not sure what that does for your box office, like what that guarantees.
Yeah, well, look what Cats did.
I mean, that's not a home run genre. It is either Yeah,
Feast or famine.
it is.
Well, yeah. Well, Cats should have scared everybody off from ever making another one, but
See, they would have been better off just literally making that as one of those terrible NBC Live musical specials like they do,
Yeah, probably.
and they would have spent way less money and probably made about the same.
yeah.
But I like how all the stories came out. There was like a VFX firm that was hired to remove the buttholes from the cats for cats. And the thing is, they had to put those in the first place.
They didn't. They were in the suits.
No, there were no suits. They were
in the suits, William. They cut a hole out of the butt of the green
You're
screen
saying
suit.
there's authentic Taylor Swift and Idris Elba rectum in that movie they had to digitally erase.
And then re-enter as a cat butt and then re-erase. So there was a lot of work done. That's where all the budget went.
There was somebody that turned down Cats. Who was it? Oh, Hugh Jackman turned it down.
It's probably a good career move.
I heard that what is it called? Education. Is it on HBO?
Yeah, that show he's going on.
Yeah, it's a movie, I think, right?
Or let's see.
I think it's a movie because somebody was saying like they think it's like probably going to end up being one of the best films of the year. They have said it's like one of his best performances. I thought they said that. I glanced the other day and I started to watch the trailer, but I'm going to watch that. I'm just not going to watch the trailer right now. But then I read the fact.
It's a movie.
Yeah, so I might check that out one day. Did you know, Derek? I was watching Graph with my daughter on Disney. Did you know that? I didn't write it down. Wolverines are the largest. What was it? Oh, I can't remember what it was. The largest weasel.
Oh, yeah.
I think that should be his slogan. The largest weasel. Wolverine.
I'm the largest weasel.
So if it's the largest weasel, they could just cast Steve Buscemi.
There is something about
Ching,
like,
ching.
oh, well, now there's another one that's the largest weasel, but that technically doesn't. I think that classifies a weasel. I don't know. I would watch also Fatalities with Steve Buscemi in that.
Come here, Mr. Penguin.
Did you guys haven't seen Uncut Gems yet, have you?
No, I need to see that.
I think somebody posted something. It may be coming to Netflix. Again, that's A20.
I've heard that.
It's A24, so it should be coming to Prime. So I don't know if that's like a good deal because if there's a good Adam Sandler film on, we didn't spend $250 million on him to not get the good one.
Yeah, I thought like Adam Sandler only released through Netflix. So
that was the films he produced or you know what I mean, that he fostered, I guess. But Gems rules, man.
Let's see. It's coming to Netflix on May 25th, at least in the US.
Okay. Yeah, it's in Canada. Netflix.
You figured they would fast track it since everybody's at home.
Yeah, it is excellent. You guys definitely check that out as soon as it hits.
Yeah. Now we just need to wait for the Kevin James to get his own Uncut Gems. Well, I think
short films were pretty good.
Yeah, like he's done a bunch of short films. They're all actually pretty funny. And there's some horror movie that he's going to be in that I think I sent to you all in Slack.
Yeah.
It's coming out. Let's see. So Kevin James will be in a horror action thriller called Becky, where it'll have Lulu Wilson, who is one of the actresses in Annabelle Creation and Haunting of Hill House. I think it's like one of the young blonde actresses that played like the young version of the character on Haunting of Hill House and was in Annabelle Creation. And then it's also going to have Joel McHale and somebody else in it. I think that's coming. Did not say. It's going to come out in the summer on video on demand and stuff. So that'll be interesting to see. Kevin James is playing the bad guy in a thriller movie.
It's just going to be like they spray him in the face with mace and he breaks through a table and just, fat guy funny, fat guy break table.
What if he plays, instead of Paul Blart, he plays Observe and Report like the Seth Rogen cop in this, who actually was kind of like a bad guy.
Eh,
That would be pretty good. I almost turned on because it's on Prime. The Fred Durst movie with
Oh, John Travolta.
I think that's on
I'm,
Amazon Prime.
I'm
But
John Travolta.
again, right now I'm like, oh, it's too short. I was generally interested, but I'm like, I'm only gonna do things that I find immediately enjoyable. And right now, that's like playing games because normally I feel too guilty to play a lot of games because I feel like, oh, I there's some movies I watch because I think, oh, this is supposed to be good. Let me just watch it. You know what I mean? Like almost guilt myself into watching something. Some stuff that just looks great and I want to watch. But I really like, and sometimes I've got to force myself and like, okay, I've got to make sure I stay up, stay awake. But like games, I don't have to do that. Like it's pretty much every game I want to try. I just want to try, at least, and then I because you're actually engaged with it, dexterity wise, mentally wise, everything. Like, yeah, I can spend like an extra 2-3 hours playing that. So like right now, I'm just like I'm having fun playing games because normally I feel too guilty playing them because I feel like I'm not being productive as far as like not just work. I don't have any work right now, but like writing a new short or working on a feature, something like that. So because of this, I'm like, okay, I'm just gonna just I'm with my daughter all day pretty much. My wife works in the medical field, so she's still working. So by the end of the night, I'm like, okay, I'm just gonna play some games. I've really enjoyed doing that a great deal. But I'm also broke. I can't buy anything. I got some PlayStation, so I've been buying a little bit in there. But yeah, really been enjoying playing some games. So one day, William, I'm gonna come buy that borrow that copy of Resident Evil 3.
Okay.
Let that clear through some more stuff.
Yeah, let's see. So is that everything we'll discuss?
It's everything I got.
Well, yeah. But next time we do this, I mean, some states will be over that hump. Sounds like some are gonna get hit by another wave because they're opening up too early.
Yeah.
Here in Kentucky, basically things are gonna start opening back up. There's already most this month.
It's a phased reopening. So we'll see how that goes.
My breath though for any of that. You know what I mean? Like,
I hope everything goes I hope
Yeah.
everything goes well. That's what everybody, like, obviously, as we hope for. But just being braced for there to be relapses and things like that. Because like just more and more things have heard the actual virus itself. Oh, it's just a flu. Even if you're asymptomatic, it can leave you with like decreased and like heart function and make you more susceptible to clotting and blood clots and things like that. None of that's a joke because blood clots can lead to strokes,
Yeah.
deaths, all kinds of problems. So
It's
it's not
awful.
and two, that's in people who are asymptomatic. You don't have to show the symptoms to get some of the side effects of what it does to you. So, but like, hopefully, there's positive advancements and it doesn't have more huge flare ups and things like that. But
Yeah.
oh, I guess,
Hope that vaccine, whatever. There's multiple things about vaccines. Again, not holding my breath for anything, but man, I just hope for the sake of everybody that has to be out working and, that has to, the states that aren't doing the right thing. Like, man, I hope that vaccine comes for everybody.
yeah, I mean, let's give a round of applause for the essential workers who are told, oh, you don't deserve to be paid more, but we really need you to come in and be exposed to virus and customers who are incredibly difficult.
Straight up work your ass off like you never worked before, too.
Yeah.
Not to say they don't always work, they do, but now, like just grocery stores, fast food, a lot of people that are taken for granted are working a lot of hours and really hard, and they're just getting applause. But what they need to be getting is more money. But
Yeah.
hopefully that will come.
I saw this is almost the analog to that. I saw somebody post a video. It was some guy. My wife's a nurse or healthcare worker. He said, so every day when she comes from work, I do this, and she walks into the door. I think they live in an apartment because, like, they have like small hallways. She walks in the door, and he pops out with pots and pans and follows around, banging them behind her head the entire time while she walks in the door. It's probably so that feels like to those people. They're like, can you just like give me some help here instead of you guys? And
No, just send that. Just let's do some cheers and sing songs. Let's not pay people more.
We're gonna fly an airplane at you, but we're not gonna pay you more money.
We're gonna spend $1 million to have the Blue Angels fly through and greet you in the morning and have T-Pain or somebody doing live music. We're not gonna pay you more.
Yeah, we're not gonna pay you more, but we'll do this, which doesn't actually.
yeah, you would think this
Yeah.
would move the needle on a lot of things, but it doesn't seem like it's doing as much as I hope. And if this is doing it, I don't expect much to. So things are that's also the grim, it's everybody dealing with death they're dealing with that side and people, their loved ones and everything. And then, also think about, man, there's just like nobody cares,
Yeah.
Well, it's showing what a half-car the whole system is, but
Yeah.
yeah. So, speaking of coronavirus, so the movie project 13 Slays of Christmas that got announced that we're a part of. So we both so Sean, you and I both directed segments for it. They're both shot. Mine's pretty much done. The only thing I'm waiting on is I might need to change some of the music down the road, but like as mine sits now, like it is complete. And yours is in the editing process. And there was one other one that shot.
And I'm
Um,
not even editing mine, so I really don't have anything to do right
yeah,
now. Like, I could be, like, toying on that, but I had an office to do it, friend of mine to do, and he works from home, so he's actually really busy right now too, so I'm like, "Dude, the only ones that shot, like, they're not gonna beat us
yeah.
whenever they start, it's fine." Like,
Yeah, so on that, like I think what they said, like it's still coming out, it's still in production. It's just a lot of the segments were slated to shoot in like April, or late March, and all those obviously just got delayed. So I'm not sure exactly when they'll start back up, but whenever they have more news, we'll have more news. Because they, like the round of articles when it first got announced and had some screen grabs in it from the segments we did. So you can check those out.
and I'm
Then,
thinking like, "Oh, I might wanna reshoot or get a different type shot of this and that," and, like, maybe something in the hallway, I don't know if it's gonna work right, and then my parents sent me a picture like, "Oh, look, we ripped off all the wallpaper," so basically I was like, "Well, it is what it is." I was like, "If I gotta reshoot something and the wall's different, I don't care really." Like, it is what it is, but if we can make it work, even if it's not the best, we may go with it. I don't know.
Christmas magic, man.
Especially with this corona, I don't wanna get anybody else out for, you know what I mean? Like,
yeah, unless it's absolutely necessary.
yeah, like if something don't work, there's something I think that I'm not for sure if it's gonna work right and look right, but I mean, yeah, unless it's like very dire, I'm not gonna ask a bunch of people to come out and reshoot some little thing and put themselves at risk. You know what I mean? When we already have it most of the way done, it just is what
Well,
it is.
and two, there's all the elements too, depending on what all it is. Like people may have cut their hair, changed facial hair.
Yeah, I know. I think it was mainly gonna be a lot of tight shots of different things, but
Okay. Well,
I don't think it's gonna be like full on scenes, but there is one weird thing, but I would have to redo the whole room for that, and I wouldn't be doing that. So
yeah. Well, I mean, too, you didn't have the benefit. Like, so I shot at my house with Julie in it, and then so the other actress was in it, Laura Nargo. But so we could just go. We reshot some stuff and just okay. We went and shot it just on a Sunday night, and
yeah,
but
we
but
we
I can't.
we did like a day and a half, and that was like one and done and it was a lot of action too.
Yeah. Yeah, so and two, I'm trying to lean on the crutch of just shooting everything in my house with Julie in it.
Yeah,
But yeah, so like I said, if we have more news on that, we'll pass it along. Um,
it's
the
ironic.
other,
It's ironic you made so many things in your house with Julie, and now the only place you can make something.
yeah,
You
yeah,
already turned up all that.
I might do something at some point soon. I'm not sure exactly what, but we'll see. Other stuff on the website, on the YouTube, Facebook. We had the video from where I went to Rose Island and got footage for videos where it's just kind of like going through abandoned or spooky places. And it's not like an urban explorer video where it's like 30 minutes long. It's like a 3-minute video just kind of going through the location with some information about it. And Rose Island's an abandoned amusement park that was really popular in the 1920s and 30s in Indiana. And there's still parts of it left, and it's actually in uh, a state park in Indiana, so you can visit it. Obviously, once things have improved coronavirus wise, but so that's interesting.
3 ghosts in the video, so make sure you watch it several times. Put in the
Yeah.
comments where each ghost is.
Where each
And then,
ghost is.
and then if you like the video, the chances of seeing a ghost increase.
Yeah.
And then if
Any
you like and
every positive review or comment increases the amount
and
of
then
ghosts in
if
the
you
video.
share it, then you get a blessing. If you don't, you get a curse.
Yep, it's just how it
But-
works.
so, like, if there's anywhere I can think of, I may be able to go outdoors and not interact with anybody. I might do another one of those sometime soon. Just depends if there's anywhere you can safely go to, not to interact with anybody. Um,
It's so weird. Yeah, I was just like staying back and then going to see other people packed at the car wash. You know what I mean? It's just like things are so weird right now. You just got to make your own judgment calls. You know, even when I think things open up, like everybody's just gonna have to make smart decisions.
yeah, even like we'll go for a walk around the neighborhood, and like people just don't want to get off the sidewalks. You have to like go out the street, and people don't.
Our neighborhood's been pretty cool. Like we always cross over, and then the other day, like I was going with my daughter, and she had her in a wagon. And I was waiting to cross over to so these other people, and they got in the street before me. Like everybody in my neighborhood has been super cool, and it's not like super crowded. It's been nice though to at least have a block to walk around with the 2-year-old when the weather's nice because she needs to
Yeah.
get out of the house too and stuff. So
Yep. So I guess that can wrap up all our discussion. Like I said, you can find all the stuff at the website, hbtvs.com. It's all the social media accounts, YouTube, Facebook, all those things.
Arnie is migrating our site, but maybe doing some minor changes. I don't know. We'll see.
Yeah. Yeah, so if we get updates, we'll let everybody know. Post links about it with the site updated. Some of it could be cool. But yeah, so hbtvs.com takes you to the site. It may have an updated look at some point soonish. I think we have some features we may be trying to get implemented, but
And yeah, we may do like a live button or something, and maybe this would pop up. I don't know if maybe this will pop up on our page when we go live, and maybe we can put a schedule thing. So if we do more live stuff, we can post it way ahead of time, and then it'll be on the site. We're always pretty loose with our stuff though. That's why we were just deciding let's do it Thursday, and then like I was trying to get stuff together, so I never made a schedule on the site because I was doing everything else trying to get my setup. And excuse me for the stream quality. I don't know why. This is my powerful laptop too. This is what I'm feeding out OBS to, and the stream quality is very bad. But like my very cheap, like $300 laptop is from Staples from several years ago. The stream quality looks great. I don't know why the one on my laptop looks very bad. That's why we took that break earlier. But apologize for that. That didn't happen last time. We'll work on that stuff too.
yeah, now these are all being released normal audio too. But like I said, just check at the hbtvs.com for all the updates, and that'll wrap up this episode of the House of VSR podcast. Thanks for listening.